Hi guys, welcome back to our next lesson in our numeracy skills topic. Today you can see that we're going to be looking at multiplying and dividing by 10, 100 and 1000, and our learning intention is just exactly the same as our title today. Your success criteria will tell you that you have been successful if you can understand our steps to multiplying and dividing by 10, 100 and 1000, and we'll get on to what those steps are with each example. Our first example here is 74 times by 10. So I start with my 74, and that is 4 units and 7 tens. Now when I multiply by 10, I move everything up a place value. So my units are moving to my tens, and my tens are moving into my hundreds, and so on. So my 4 units will move up to become 4 tens, 40, and the 7 tens will move up into the hundreds. So we've now got 700. 740, so I need to fill in a 0 at the end of my units there. We sometimes talk about it as putting a 0 at the end of the number. So that works when we are multiplying by a whole number, like our 74. I've got 1 0 at the end of my 10, and so I've put 1 0 at the end of 74. Pause the video guys and see if you can have a go at 35 times 10 and 890 times 10. Okay, using the same rule as before, 35 is a whole number, so it's going to become 350. That's 35 with 1 0 at the end. And then this time I've got my 890. There's already a 0 here, but I need to put a second 0 at the end to match up. So 890 becomes 8,900. When multiplying by our hundreds, we need to move everything 2 places. I've got 2 zeros here, so my units are going to move up to my hundreds, and my tens are going to move up to my thousands. So if I start with 2 units and 3 tens originally for 32, my 2 units will move up to the hundreds, and my 3 tens will move up to the thousands. And I need to fill in 2 zeros this time. So when multiplying a whole number by 10, we put 1 0. When we multiply a whole number by 100, we put 2 zeros at the end. Again, pause the video and try these two for me. Okay, so 14 times by 100 then. So that's going to be my 14. I've got 2 zeros here, so I'm going to add 2 zeros to the end of that original number to give me 1,400. And then this is a bit like what we looked at last time. We've been given 100 times by 102. Remember, when we have 2 numbers multiplied together, it does not matter the order in which we do them. So this is just the same as being asked to do 102 times by 100. So I take my 102. We've got 2 zeros and 100, so I'm going to put 2 zeros at the end, and that then gives us 10,200. Really quickly then, if our rule for 10 was to put 1 0, our rule for 100 was to put 2 zeros, 1000 has 3 zeros at the end, so we are just going to add 3 zeros to the end of our whole number. So for our first example here, 78, and then I want my 3 zeros, 1, 2, 3, to give me 78,000. This time I'm starting with 490. When I times by 1000, I need to add another 1, 2, 3 zeros onto the end. So 1, 2, 3, and that gives me 490,000 as my answer. Our opposite of timesing is dividing. So when we multiply, we add on zeros. When we divide, we're going to take off those zeros. Everything is going to move down a place value. So this time I am starting with my 520. So if I'm moving down a place value, my tens are going to come down to units, and my hundreds are going to come down to the tens. So that is just going to leave me with 52. Or, as I said, another way to think about it is removing that 0. So I've got 1 0 in 10, so I can take 1 0 off the end of that whole number there. Okay, we've got 2 more examples here of dividing by 10. Pause the video, try them yourself, and then press play to hear the answers. So 350 then, well I'm thinking I've got 1 0 in 10, I've got 1 0 at the end of 350, so my answer there is just going to be 35. For 1900 divided by 10, again it's just 1 0 I've got in that 10, so I can only remove 1 0 to make it one place value smaller each time, and that gives me 190. Okay, I'm sure most of us have worked out what our rule is going to be this time. If we are dividing by 100, I've got 2 zeros in 100, so everything's going to move down 2 places. My hundreds are going to become units, and my thousands are going to become tens. So my 700 this time, divided by 100, well, my hundreds move down to units, so my answer is just 7. And again, another way to think about it is we had 2 zeros at the end of 100, so I can chop off 2 zeros from my 700 to give me just 7 as my answer. Okay, give these two a try and come back for the answer. So 1400 divided by 100, well we've got 2 zeros here. I can cancel them out with those 2 zeros, so that leaves me with just 14 as my answer. And again, chopping off 2 zeros here with those 2 zeros there to give me 54 for my answer. Just like with our multiplying by 1000, where we added 3 zeros at the end, we're going to do the opposite and take off 3 zeros. So 14,000 has 3 zeros and 1000 has 3 zeros, so they're all going to match up and leave me with just 14. This time I need to be careful. I've got 1 0, 2 zeros, 3 zeros, but I had an extra 4th zero there for the 280,000. So my answer is going to have to be 280. Okay. And that is you finished with the notes portion for the lesson today, guys. You've now got 8 questions and 3 extension questions for you to have a go at. I expect everybody to be able to work through questions 1 to 8. I don't need to see working, just the same sort of answers that I gave in these examples. I'm quite happy for you to answer in your jotter. If you want to show working, particularly for the dividing ones, if it helps to chop those zeros off, show any working you need to, but I don't expect you to show working for these questions. Your extension ones, we didn't do examples like this, but it follows the same rules that we already talked about during the lesson. So I would quite like you guys to have a go at those 3 as well and let me know what you think in our Teams chat. Like I've done with every other lesson, answers will go up tomorrow at some point to give you a chance to go through this first. Okay, try your best and good luck.